Should you be loyal to the corporation you work at? Are corporations loyal to you? What should you really expect from the company you work at? We'll answer those questions today on Work Trauma, How Corporations Really Work. Hello, I'm Michael Denisoff, CEO and Principal Director of Denisoff Consulting Group, an international consulting firm dedicated to elevating organizations to help them perform better, be more successful, and grow strong, high-performing cultures. And this is possible, but only if we are really honest about how they really work. And welcome to this episode of Work Trauma, How Corporations Really Work, where we pull back the curtain to let you know what is really going on at companies so you can make good decisions about who you work for, how to navigate your career, and if you are a leader, how to build better, fairer, and more successful organizations. Remember, we're really generally talking about larger organizations. So you have to ask the question, should you be loyal to your company, to your organization? The answer is heck no. All right, thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed this episode. No, to be serious, no. I mean, of course, it depends how you define loyalty. I find it that companies kind of subtly, and not so subtly sometimes, kind of just expect it or demand that you just love them, that you take care of them, that you look to them, and that you should be grateful that you even have a job from them. So you should be loyal to them. So should you be loyal to them? No. And why? Because by definition, corporations are not loyal to you. They're loyal to being financially successful and to their shareholders. So their job is not to give you a job, right? Their job is to run a successful organization. It's nothing personal. So in the end, you know, you're a replaceable worker. I know that sounds terrible, but it's true. An organization can let you go at any point for any reason. Maybe there's an economic downturn, the market crashes, something happens with the weather, there's a change in governmental policy, and they need to let people go. They will let you go, and it's not personal. So knowing that, how can they try to make this personal so you have this loyalty, this fealty to them to do whatever they want? It's in the end, it's manipulation. So let's talk about that a little bit more. All right. So the other thing I want to talk about too is so if I'm not being loyal, should I be disloyal? Should my relationship with my company be adversarial? And the answer is no, of course not. This is about a social contract, a social agreement. Two parties come together, and if it makes sense for you, and if it makes sense to them, then you come together and you work.
Yes.
Work together, or you partner up as long as it made sense, right? So it doesn't mean that you shouldn't have pride where you work. It doesn't mean you shouldn't be kind of a general level of loyal to your company. It doesn't mean you shouldn't work hard. But see the relationship for what it is, right? It's a social contract, hopefully long-term contract. It's also transactional. And somehow transactional became a dirty word through all the consultants and thought gurus over the last 20 years. It's a transaction, right? You deliver your results and they pay you for those results. And that's a good thing. Right. And now we have crazy people going around saying, you should tap into people's hearts and minds. And no, again, my hearts and mind, that's for my God and my family. Right. I'm going to do a great job for you. And I'm going to take pride in my work, not because you tell me to, because that's the kind of worker I am. That's what I promised in our social contract. So it is ultimately a transaction. Right. It could be a positive transaction. And hopefully there's a lot of positive transactions. Could that transaction turn into a bit of a relationship? Yeah, to some degree, but it has its limits because in the end, if a company has to lay you off, right, for any reason, because it makes sense for the business, for the success of the business, for the finances of the business, they're going to lay you off. All right. Again, so this concludes this episode. No, I'm just joking. So what should people do, right? You just have to recalibrate that. We've been told by companies that you should be loyal to them, and they really care about you, and we care about their employees, and we know that if they do care about their employees, which companies do, just to varying degrees, there is a limit to that. They're not going to keep you on a job if they can't afford you. Right? They're not going to keep you on the job if the job doesn't make sense anymore. So there's a limit to that. So just recalibrate this relationship into a win-win relationship. Again, you bring something and you offer your skills and your results and your productivity and your output, and they pay you for that output. And it's better if you stay on longer because they don't have to retrain people. Better for you because it doesn't really upset your life or cause disruption in your life. So generally people like to work at companies for, at least a few years, right? And it's a good thing. But again, ultimately, it is still a transactional relationship. Like I said, companies by nature aren't loyal to you. It's by definition, they're not loyal to you. So they really should stop demanding you be loyal to them, right? Unless they're truly loyal to you, which again, I think there's some exceptions to that, particularly at smaller businesses, mid-sized businesses. It's a little bit different story. I think loyalty has a different mentality to that. It's really funny. And there's legendary stories about, somebody who worked for Pepsi who ordered a Coke, just by habit, small C Coke at a restaurant, and was fired immediately.
You're fired.
Is that good or bad? I've thought about this a lot. If you work for the company you work for, you should care about it enough to want to use its products, particularly in front of the big bosses. But should they demand it of you? Wow, that's, to me, if you really boil it down, it's a big demand. But that story is legendary. Different stories like that are legendary. So remember, they're going to lay you off. It's a business transaction to them, and they shouldn't represent it any other way. So all of us, we either have, most of us, not all of us, but most of us probably have been laid off in a big layoff of a company. And it's a really sad thing. I've been on both sides of it because early in my career, I was in HR. I've had to lay off people, and they give you this script, which is crazy, that you have to say exactly what's in that script and you can't even say you're sorry, you feel bad for them, because that's admitting fault. And the lawyers make sure you don't say that because could get the company sued or in trouble. So you have to kind of be very, very boop, 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 boop. And you have to give them this line. If you ever saw that movie with George Clooney, Up in the Air, it gives us some really great insight to it. It's kind of a cold thing. But when you're at these companies and they lay you off, right, these conversations happen all the time. I'm sorry, but by the situation of the company, we're going to have to lay you off. We're laying off a couple hundred people, and your job has been eliminated. The response is, yes, but I've worked really hard for this company. I've given my life for the last few years to this company. And the response is, and we've paid you for that. See, it's transactional. You did this, and we paid you for that. And then the next line is, listen, it's nothing personal. It's just business. That's right. It is just business. Okay. So another time the company's like, you should love us and you should go above and beyond for the love of the CEO so he or she can make a bigger bonus. They're making it personal, but it's not personal, right? Right? It's not personal. It's business. They try to make it personal because they want to get the most work out of you, for sure. And you should do good work, but it should be also calibrated. It should be documented, and you get paid for that work. See, that's what a good transaction is. So it should be a good transaction. There's, listen, I'm going to have my brother on the show as a guest in a few episodes, and I'm going to steal one of his stories. I know he wants to tell this story, but it's such a great thing. He was working for a company. Let's call it, as we say on the reservation, Pepsi company. And there was a worker there, and he was, an average worker, not brilliant, not bad. Just, your average worker, did a good job, but they had layoffs. And my brother was the plant manager at the time. And, the district manager came in to lay off people. This one guy came in, and he was laid off. And, the district manager read the official script from the corporate lawyers. And the person said, I've given my life to this company. I've done everything. I've sacrificed time with my family for this job. And the response from the district manager was, well, that was stupid. And that's kind of cold and harsh, but very true. Now, they don't tell you that sentiment when they're trying to get you to work hard and they're trying to give you an inspiring speech. But it's true. That was stupid. Don't sacrifice yourself or your family for the company. Work hard. Deliver on what you promised. Earn your pay. But to go above and beyond than that is just kind of crazy to me, for sure. All right. What else can we talk about this? Oh, yeah. A lot of people don't want to hear this. A lot of people, no, I'm really loyal to my company, my loyalist company to me. They want this because they want to feel special. They want to feel part of something, right? And again, it's good to take pride in your company. Years ago, I worked at a Neutrogena. Everybody loved working at Neutrogena, mostly because people loved the product and everybody had a cool story. We would meet people. I would meet people who would tell me a cool Neutrogena story. So you were really proud of that. And because of that, you worked hard and stuff. But again, there's a difference between being good, keeping your commitment to a company, and then giving your unbridled loyalty to them, because that's not good, because they will take advantage of that for you, for sure. Look at this. Here's a lighter version of that. And this happens all the time. Companies will say, you should go above and beyond. You should be expected to go above and beyond. That's how I grew up. How do you get promoted? You go above and beyond. But in the end, when you go above and beyond, yeah, perhaps in the ideal world, right? You hopefully will get a bigger bonus, bigger pay bump when it comes time. Hopefully you get promoted more. And that's how it should be. It doesn't always work like that. We've talked about like that on other episodes. But who really benefits from you going above and beyond are the executives, particularly the CEO. When you go above and beyond, there's a bunch of people going above and beyond. He might say, thank you, I really appreciate you, as he or she takes their third bonus of the year. I've seen it. It happens all the time. So they'll take credit for tricking you into going above and beyond. So if you're going to go above and beyond, that's great. And you should. It's good for your career. It's good to take pride in yourself like that. But it better be recognized. If not, they're taking advantage of you. Listen, you in terms of loyalty, you got to be loyal to yourself and your career and to your integrity. You still have to manage your career, right? It's a social contract. So make yourself so valuable to the company, they wouldn't think of letting you go, right? And they're not letting you go because they're loyal to you. They're not letting you go because you're good at your job and you serve a purpose for them. And as long as you're happy there and they're paying you fairly, you should stay there. There's nothing wrong with that. I wouldn't call that loyalty. I would say that's a good transaction, a good agreement together. So yeah. So you should really take care of yourself first. I've heard people would come to me and say, oh, I really love this company, blah, blah. I feel like I should give them more than 2 weeks. Now, if you're an executive, you got to give more than 2 weeks, right? But your average employee, giving 2 weeks is enough. Because if they want to fire you, they take care of you. They wouldn't extend it more than what they should, right? They have severances and they don't have to give them, but if there's president, they have to give them to you, right? They don't really look out for you all that much. And a lot of times they give you packages because they want to keep somewhat of a reputation when they let people go. It's not just because they care about you. Now, there might be people in HR or different managers who do care about different individuals. The collective of the company doesn't really care about you for sure. So companies, will they do loyal things to people? Possibly, if you're well connected, maybe you're a relative, or maybe there were some nefarious things going on, so they feel connected to you. They might go above and beyond and show some loyalty to you. My experience has been anytime a company, again, large companies will show loyalty to someone, they'll turn it into a PR stunt. So they'll do something nice for somebody, say, oh, we really care about employees. We're really loyal to our employees. And hopefully it's true to some degree. But if that was true, why did they feel the need to do a whole PR story on it? Make sure, CNN was there to cover it. It's really there to magnify their organization more than take care of you. Okay. That sounds really negative. I'm sorry, but it's true. We hope companies would act differently, and sometimes they do. Not all companies are this bad, but at some point there's different degrees to it. In the end, companies, even the nicest, most altruistic company, has to take care of the company. And it's not personal. It's just business. All right. So like I said, most people don't want to hear this, because most people are good. They're naturally good natured. They want to give good things to the company and be loyal to the company, and they'll just kind of naturally expect it back because that's how good relationships work, right? Most people want to be a part of something. They want to say, yes, I work for this company. I'm proud of that. I'm part of this group, this community, because we're pack animals as humans. So they want to do that. But what really amazes me is how many people stay in bad relationships in general. You'll see somebody stay in a bad relationship. It could be a friendship who doesn't reciprocate or give back. You kind of stay friends with them. Or maybe it's a boyfriend or girlfriend that's, doesn't give back. It's always one-sided, and they'll stay with them. But it's not healthy when you see that. When you're in that or your friends in that, you tell them that's not healthy. Well, the same thing should go for organizations. If a company doesn't treat you well, doesn't pay you fairly, doesn't act as a transaction of a healthy transaction, it's time for you to go. Okay. And by the way, as soon as you stop delivering good stuff, they fire you, right? And they should, because why? It's no longer a good transaction. It's just business, my friends. All right. So in a recent study by Paychex organization, they found out the majority of employees, regardless of generation, by the way, were very loyal to their company. So it was anywhere between 77 and 88%, depending on the generation. The younger generations were the lower one. All right. 77 to 3/4 of the company feels very loyal to their company, which is beyond me. Now you can say, they treat me well. I have a good relationship with them, but they have to feel loyal to it. That's doesn't seem really healthy to me. Again, a lot of it is that people want a sense of self-belonging. They want that social community, right? But it's not real, again, because if they have to let you go, they'll let you go. You don't say, you're gonna fire me or have a big layoff. Well, what about our social community? Yeah, we can't afford it. You got to go. Bye. All righty. Companies too for loyalty will kind of promote this idea that we care about you. And again, for most companies, if you ever go to their town hall, they do 67 of the slides, and 2 hours and 58 minutes of the 3-hour town hall meeting will be on marketing and finance and cheering for other executives, right? And the last 3 minutes are HR people slides. And here's a little bit about our engagement survey with the people. It's really not the truth. Okay. So another reason why people stay loyal to companies, they think it will give them security and stability. And I'm telling you right now, there is no such thing as job security, right? Because it could change as a moment, right? Most people, it kind of works out pretty well through the years. But in general, there's no such thing. It's a myth. Job stability is a myth. Your ability to do a job, get new jobs, make sure your skills are highly marketable, right, to other companies, that's what real job security is. But stability and security from a company, that's a myth for sure. It's false. It's a false thing, right? If you stay too loyal to a company, you'll get comfortable, right? And it lulls you to think that they'll take care of you if something goes on. And sometimes things don't go on for a long time, right? Because the business is going well. But when the hits the fan, if you need to be cut, you'll be cut off. There'll be no loyalty to you. Also, the other thing, sometimes people stay in companies too long because they're feeling loyal to them. And they miss out on other opportunities for sure, including increasing their pay or increasing opportunities for sure. And that's sad. That's true, by the way. You always see that from an HR point of view. A lot of times incumbents who've been there doing a great job get paid less than somebody just brought in because they want to make sure they get this person to do a job. So they pay them more. So it's actually better for your paycheck to go to different companies every few years, right? And now that's more accepted, so it's okay. But sometimes people are lulled into staying for a company. And people generally, too, who are that loyal to a company are exploited. At some point, they're exploited. Maybe there's a general exploitation of them to some degree. Or a lot of times you'll hear like managers come in or the director who doesn't really know anybody go, we care about you. Now you need to care about us. You need to give above and beyond for the company. We need you to work extra hard. Numbers are down. Right. So we need you to rally. Why? They're not rallying you to save the company. They're really rallying employees to make sure they get their bonus. That's what they're really or keep their job. That's what they're rallying employees around for. So just keep that in mind. All right. All right. So companies, they I don't say they use you, but they transact with you for your output and they get paid for it. That's what it is. And again, that's not a bad thing. That's a healthy thing. It's a good thing. You have transactions, you have in your relationships. Again, if the only time you heard from your friend was that he needed a ride to the airport at 5 a.m. or he needed money, in time, that wouldn't be your friend. You would walk away from that relationship. So it has to be reciprocal and a healthy reciprocal. Now, when you talk about your family or your close friends, you don't keep track because you're always kind of giving, right? Because there's love and love kind of conquers all. Okay. Your company doesn't love you. Okay. Your spouse loves you. Your parents love you. Okay. And they'll put up with a lot and they'll sacrifice for you. Companies generally don't do that for sure. All righty. Let's see. Well, here's a personal story about this. And a future guest knows this story pretty well because we lived it together. There was a company. I was working at a company. It was a cellular company in North Carolina based out of Chicago. And we spun off from one of the big ones. And the word was we were going to create a new kind of cellular phone company. This would have been in the 90s, where we're going to care about our customers and we're going to care about our employees. We're not going to be this thing. And they had this beautiful narrative, right? And it was about being something different, doing something different. And they totally got people engaged in this, got them excited about that, got them to work extra hard to pull this off, did really good stuff. And all the time they knew what they were doing. When I say they, I meant the 5 or 6 people who were kind of the leaders and owners of this company. They knew exactly what they were doing. They wanted to sell it, turn it around, and sell it to the highest bidder, right? But that wasn't what they told the employees. No, we're going to be an independent company. We're not going to be encumbered or limited by the big cellular companies. Well, the whole time they know exactly what they were going to do. They're going to build it up, the revenues up, get the people to work really hard, get the revenues up. And as soon as it hit a certain level where they could sell it, they did. And they made millions and millions and millions of dollars, right? Because they basically fooled everybody to work extra hard so they could make the money. Now, did people benefit from it? No. Nobody got bonused when the company was sold, except for the 6 individuals who make millions of dollars. That's who made the money. So did anybody get extra money for their efforts? Nope. They got lied to, right? In fact, some people, of course, lost their jobs because there were redundancies, particularly in the back office, right? Those people who worked really hard in the back office for the small company were laid off. So the only people benefited is those who sold the company and those who knew about it. And that's how it works. I mean, that's a rough story. You could say, well, that's good for those guys. They know what they're doing. But they didn't share the wealth, which is the problem with it, and which is manipulation, which is another reason why you shouldn't be blindly loyal to companies. Okay. And this is why you see the last 20 years a rise in the anti-work movement, the Great Resignation. People are seeing this stuff now. Things are exposed more than ever before, right? So whether it's the Great Resignation, the lay down, people are kind of, they know what executives are making in comparison to the rest of the company. It's not good, right? And people aren't loyal to that. Cultures are super toxic. It's hard to live in some of these companies. Like I said, companies are doing we want to tap into our employees through their heart and soul. So they want to pound the flesh and they want your heart and soul tool. So you're seeing a lot of people to, reject corporations, which is sad. And it shouldn't be that way. Again, if you're too loyal, you're risking of being taken advantage of. You're going to miss opportunities outside the company. You're going to lack negotiating power within company. So many times I've seen HR or a manager say, well, if you really cared about the company, you would do this. You would just do this for us because we've been so good to you, right? They'll defer moving on as they should. They burn out and they'll miss out on pay opportunities. All right. So, all right. I'm getting all worked up. It's not a bad picture. It's not a blurry picture. It's just know what it really is and know some of the stuff that corporations or the internal communications person tells you or writes for the CEO to say, this isn't true. So what should you really expect your employer? Okay. We know there's 4 things people really want from their employer, right? They want fair pay for the work being done. They want a healthy work environment. So that's physical, mentally, and emotional, right? They want the opportunity to grow and hopefully opportunity to make a difference. And that's what you should expect. That sounds like a good win, right? A good side of your agreement. On their part, right, for the social contract, they want you to deliver results that you promised to deliver, that you live by the policies and the ethics and the standards of the organization. And then to some degree that you get better for next year because we want you to do work. There'll be more or higher expectations next year, which is fine, right? And as soon as those things are met, if those both things are agreed upon and you're both doing it, then you have a good transaction. And maybe that transaction turns into a bit of relationship, but it's a business relationship. It's a business transactional relationship that you're deciding to go on with. Like if you're happy with your cable company or your dish company or your streaming services, you keep renewing that. It's the same thing for sure. It's a social contract. All right. Let's see. What should you do when you pick out a company? Make sure you do the research on it for sure. Make sure that company aligns with your values. Right? They're congruent, that you can be proud of it, that you want to work there, that you want to bring your very best, and that you deliver what you promise you're going to deliver. That's a good thing. But because it's transactional, I would advise you to always have a current resume on hand. Because if an opportunity comes up, you want to be like, oh, I got to get my resume together. How many times have I heard that? Right? And also, if you have your resume together and you're looking, I don't say all the time, but you're kind of continuously looking. That means if you're there at the company and you stay at that means you're there for all the right reasons. It's doing what you need it to do for you. And that's a good thing. It's when you run out of options, you can get in big trouble. All right. So a couple of other things, be loyal to people, not companies. You should be loyal to your coworkers. And if your boss is good, be loyal to them, take care of them, but be really loyal at the local level for sure. Make your career for you beneficial. So be loyal to your career. right? Do what you need to do that works for you while still being fair to the company. Don't try to take advantage of the company. You don't want to be that way either. You don't want to see what you could get away with, right? You don't want to exploit the company. You want it to be a fair and good transaction, just like you want to be treated for sure. But again, see it for what it is. So be loyal to yourself, to your career, to your commitments that you made the company, be loyal to the goals, be loyal to that local team. Companies, really, we need a revolution in most corporations, large corporations. They need to learn to tell the truth for sure. They need to be more loyal to their company, to their employees. They have to share in the fruits of their labor. It makes no sense when constantly, year after year, executives are getting multi-million-dollar bonuses while the rest of the company doesn't even get, all the rest of the company together doesn't even come close to the pool of bonuses going out to the executives. And they need to take care of their people in a more significant way. And that's what I think. So should you be loyal to the company? Should be a good employee. You should be in a good, positive relationship with your employee. Should you have blind loyalty to them? No way, Jose. Okay. All right. So it was good. So any questions or comments, please leave them. Also, if you like the episode, please like it and or subscribe as we build this out, as we build this people to make sure we know what's going on behind the scenes at companies so we could build better careers for people and better companies for people. So I'm Michael Denisoff, and this is Work Trauma, How Corporations Really Work. See you next time.